Welcome back to the Grow Like a Mother podcast. In today's episode, it's going to be a nourishing one, especially if you've been feeling pulled in a million directions lately. I'm joined by Emily Condle, who is the founder of Sage HeadSpa, a mom of two, and she's bringing us over a decade of experience in the beauty and wellness industry. Emily is not only redefining what self care looks like, she's also living it. She's balancing motherhood, entrepreneurship, and ambition in a way that feels really grounded and intentional. Because today, what we're going to talk about is diving deeper into what it really means to protect your peace when you're leading and nurturing at the same time. We're going to talk about boundaries, energy leaks, ambition, why that old version of self care just doesn't cut it anymore. So, whether you're running a business or a household or both, you're going to walk away from this conversation with a renewed sense of permission to take up space, say no, and design a life that actually supports you. I'm really excited for this. Welcome, Emily, to the Grow Like a Mother podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
This conversation is going to be so good. You have made such a splash in the business that you have built. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to get into business and specifically this sort of wellness industry?
Yeah, so I graduated aesthetic school in 2011, and my dream was to always work in the med spa and plastic surgery space. So that is kind of what I dived into right out of aesthetic school. And working, alongside plastic surgeons, they are a different breed, a different animal. And, what I realized is I worked for a lot of really great people and I worked for a lot of really horrible people that, just did things for the financial gain. And they really didn't care truly about their staff, although they might have said that or, made you believe that they cared about you. They really didn't. And I just got to the point around COVID that I just got really burnt out and fed up with the way I was being treated in my work environment. And I just truly didn't feel cared for. So I just started kind of daydreaming about what if I could create a space for working moms and not even just moms, girls who want that work life balance and they don't want to be burnt out. And I truly believe that you can't give your first client of the day the same care or effort that you will give your eighth or ninth. So I always dreamed of like what, if we could just work like 9 to 3 or 3 to 9 or, just no stress work environment. There's really like no such thing as that. So I just kind of started daydreaming about that. And I know the med spa space and surgery space, especially here in Atlanta, is extremely competitive. And I knew that it would be really hard to kind of get into that niche and build my own thing. And I kind of went back and forth with self doubt, and I saw this head spa treatment starting to trend in the United States. And that's another thing I feel like a lot of people just go kind of towards like plastic surgery or very invasive lasers. And that's something that I truly did believe in when I was in that environment. But I do think that there's other things that you can do before you start getting Botox or before you start, putting heavy lasers on your skin and things like that. So my approach started to change during COVID to more of like a holistic approach. And basically, that's how Sage HeadSpa was born. I was like, let me kind of get out of this plastic surgery, medical laser needle space and get back to more of a holistic approach to skincare and hair care.
It sounds like you just sort of identified two gaps and just went for it, right? It's like
Yes.
how the staff are being treated and what their experience in the workplace is like, and then also what the experience for the customer is, and offering an alternative to what we would normally just sort of like, okay, it's nothing, or maybe we go up here, and you found this middle ground, which feels really, really exciting. And this brand has just exploded. You're telling me you have 10 locations?
Yes. So we kind of hit the ground running. We opened our first location in Alpharetta, Georgia, like I said, And then about 3 months later, we opened our second location in Palm Beach, Florida, and we have 5 locations in Florida. And then our other 5 locations are kind of random. We have well, Brentwood, Tennessee, and Charlotte are not random because those are fairly easy to get to from Atlanta. But we also have South Lake and Naperville. So South Lake, Texas, and Naperville, Illinois. And those are kind of just they came about because of people in the business having contacts there and knowing the area and the demographic and things like that. So that's kind of how we ended up in those two spots. But Charlotte and Brentwood have been great as well. And they're easily accessible to me here in Atlanta.
Yeah, which I mean, that just feels like a heck of a lot of stuff to manage. Like, what does that look like for you when you're trying to manage your schedule as a mom? Like, okay, so how old are your kids?
So I have an almost 8-year old, a 2-year old, and I'm actually 7 months pregnant.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's it's definitely a bit chaotic. I would say that I have not mastered the work-life balance. I feel like sometimes I'm failing at both, but I just keep showing up every single day and hope that, it all works out.
Mhm. I love that. Thank you for being like super honest about that because many of us are feeling the same way. And it's like we want to say that we've got it all figured out and we've got it all together and share, how it happens, but in reality none of us do. We're just sort of trying to
Yes.
figure it out as we go and do our best. And that feeling of feeling like you're failing at both is a pretty common one that I know I feel and a lot of my clients and listeners feel too. So thank you for naming that. That's really important for us to feel like, okay, we're not alone in this. This is a big
Yes.
deal and it's not easy.
Yeah. I try to always have like pep talks with myself. I feel like towards maybe like 6 months into the business, I was having, conversations with myself that weren't so nice. And, now I've kind of tried to change my mindset to, you are doing a good job. You are a good mom. You are handling this business to the best of your ability. You are showing up every day. So I also think it has a lot to do with what you're telling yourself in your mind, and just kind of not letting yourself be too hard on yourself
Yeah.
is what
Yeah,
I struggle
100%.
with.
And I think especially right now with like comparison and social media and all the different things that we're seeing, it's really hard for us to stay focused in our own lane and like on our own journey. We see other people, we see their
Yes.
progress, we see their numbers and their vanity metrics and all the things online and it's really easy to slip into that comparison mindset and being aware of it, I think, is a thing that
Is
is
step one, identifying that you're doing it for sure.
yeah.
And that's what I've realized is that's exactly what I was doing. I was looking at social media and I'm like, I'm here, but I should be here. But then I'm like, wait, I got here. So like I'm doing something right, but it's honestly terrible.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
for sure.
Like moms are bad for it and business owners like entrepreneurs are bad for it too
Yes.
because there's so much pressure and we want to do such a good job. I think genuinely for many of us it comes from a place of just wanting to do our best in all of our roles, but it can feel overwhelming.
Yes. Like I never want to let my staff down. I never want to let my kids down. And it's just, yeah, it weighs on you for sure.
Yeah. Okay, what does your self-care look like? Because your business is built around this idea of like I mean, it's wellness and prioritizing ourselves and taking the time and doing things that feel good for us that are just for us. But what do you do for self-care?
So what I've realized is, you have to do things that make you feel good about you. So, a lot of women like to go shopping and, buy clothes and, or go out to eat. I found that just doing stuff that makes me feel better about me, whether it's like going to get a massage or a pedicure or another thing that I do probably more often than beauty treatments for myself. I mean, I do try to do at least like one self care beauty treatment like a month or every other month just to make me feel like I'm doing something for me.
Yeah.
But I will just get the kids to bed and turn on Real Housewives. And my husband is like, this is trash TV. And I'm like, but honestly, it makes me so happy. And it just brings me so much joy to just sit here and watch trash TV and kind of not think about anything that I should be doing. Honestly, just doing stuff like that, just kind of giving myself like 1 hour at night or if my daughters are in school during the day, just kind of taking like an hour out of my day and just doing something like watching a stupid show and just really relaxing and unwinding and not worrying about like the laundry or any of those things. But I also like to go to dinner, but I normally take my family if we do that.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess we need to include them in some of the nice things, right?
Yes. Yes. I'm like,
Um,
that's normally, it kind of depends on how the 2-year-old wants to act at dinner.
yeah, I haven't had much success bringing my kids to the restaurants, and they're 8 and 6 now, the younger ones. So
Yeah.
I get that, but I love that you sort of identified like, hey, this isn't something everybody would find self-care. Like my husband would not feel like watching Real
Yes.
Housewives is self-care for him, but you know it is nourishing for you. And so you do it intentionally and you're not just like throwing it on and sort of like just letting it take you. Like you're making a choice and you're saying, this is my self-care. Like this hour is for me. And so that's one of the things
Yes.
that I want to make sure people hear. Like you're allowed to scroll and watch TV, and like those things can be self-care. Those things can be ways that you fill up your cup. But the trick is making sure that you're doing it intentionally and you're choosing it. You're not letting it sort of sweep you away, right?
Right. No, for sure. And I think that you know, really just like you could feel guilty I feel guilty. Like I feel like if I don't have my laptop on me at all times or I'm not constantly working 24 hours a day, like I'm failing my business. And just putting like a time block on my schedule because my older daughter is now 8 and she's like, "Mom, you're always on your phone, you're always on your computer." And they don't she understands that I'm working, but she also doesn't understand that I'm working. So I've been trying to, from like 4 to 6 p.m., just kind of stay off of my phone. And then, picking it back up once they kind of get their bath out of the way, their dinner out of the way. But I have not mastered it, but it's in my mind that, hopefully I can get to a point from like 4 to 8 p.m. I won't touch my phone or touch work, but it is really hard because you feel like if you're putting one down, it's going to fail or explode. And that's why I kind of chose the TV show at night as my self care because I'm like, okay, it's 11 p.m. Like, none of my locations are on fire. Like, all the clients are asleep, so just kind of having those talks with myself is what I constantly have to do.
Yeah, I love that you've established that boundary for yourself and acknowledging that it's one that like shifts, like we're not always perfect, but having that time set aside to like be where your feet are with your kids when you have them um is a cool boundary to have as a business owner. It's really hard to like take off the business hat completely. And I feel like even if you're not a business owner listening to this, if you work from home, you can see yourself in this
Yes.
predicament as well, right? It's so hard to be just in one place, but that's a really good boundary to try to work towards. Is there anything else that you do like boundary wise or like how to balance? Like I'm just so curious to know what other things are in your schedule in your life that you would credit to giving you like some relief against burnout.
So I am extremely scheduled oriented. I feel like I thrive off of a schedule. So I try to kind of list everything out on my schedule. And I used to not really put um like realistic things to accomplish during the day. So I try to list out things that I think are realistically attainable to kind of knock out for that day. For example, it's like laundry, sign Kennedy up for golf, talk to our marketing team, do, a PR call, all of those things. I try to do things that are like realistic and attainable, where I used to make these long lists and wouldn't execute everything on the list because it's just not realistic. And then I would kind of feel like I failed at the day. So, really, just creating lists that are realistic. And then I kind of feel accomplished at the end of the day. I'm probably doing more than most people on that list, but just, again, like my self thoughts, like, oh, you actually knocked out what was on your list. So that has really helped me. But like I said, I feel like when I first started making them, I wasn't making realistic day to day lists. And I was feeling like I didn't accomplish anything, but in reality, I really did. So I think that that's really big for me. I know that a lot of people aren't like list people, but definitely trying that, I feel like works really well. And then, letting like laundry pile up, I tend to let that happen. I'll put that on the list and I'm like, we're going to knock this out today and I'm going to feel really good about getting this laundry put away in my house. But yeah, that's kind of what I have identified as a way to kind of help me get through the day to day.
Yeah. You're just preaching to the choir. Like my work outside of this podcast is time management, and lists are my best friend. I think it is something that we all are guilty of putting together an unrealistic list. And so something I always offer people is create a have-to list, which is like maybe three things for the day, like has to get done, and then a
Yes.
hope-to list that can just sort of live there so you don't forget about it, but it's you know there's no pressure to get those hope-tos done today.
Right.
Because you're right, you get this huge dopamine hit from being able to cross things off your list and accomplish what's on there, and that gives you the momentum to keep going and give yourself those
Yes.
like kudos, good job, right? You deserve the rest because some of us feel like we need to earn the rest, which is such a scam. I know you took the productivity persona quiz and you were the energized achiever, which is what I am right now too. And it's such a struggle sometimes to take the rest that we need to keep our batteries charged because we feel like there's always more to do, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. As we sort of wrap this conversation, I'm curious to know if there's anything like any advice that you would have for the listeners today if they're trying to create something of their own, whether it's like a business or a family or writing a book or a health goal, anything that they're sort of working towards. If you have advice for them on how to do it without completely like losing yourself in the process of going for something.
I think really identifying your why is so important. So that if you start to kind of lose sight of the vision, or you lose sight of, or you just get overwhelmed or bogged down. Like, I constantly have to remind myself, like, right now, I have two little girls that are watching me, and I want them to see a mom who is building something and creating opportunity and showing them that they can do it as well. I was never an A plus student. I was always like a CD student. I was always told like I had a learning disability and that I had ADHD, and all of those things were negative, but I honestly think that like the ADHD has worked in my favor as a business owner. So I think just showing them that, no matter, how smart you are in school, you can still do anything that you put your mind to if you work really hard at those things. And then also, my other why is my staff. At the end of the day, I want to create a work environment where my staff is excited to come to, takes pride in where they work, and the biggest compliment and reward to me is when the girls will message me and they're like, "Thank you so much for like launching this new facial and giving us this education. And, I love it here." And, I am giving these girls something that like I always wanted and always longed for 12 years. And so that's just those are my two whys. And I think if you can identify your why, and I think your why has to be bigger than like financial gain, you know what I mean? Whether it's like the freedom to, wake up and take your kids to school and not feel the stress of sitting in traffic every single morning, or, just write down that why, identify it, and just stay true to it so that when you do have to have those talks with yourself, you can, this is why you're doing this. This is crazy, but this is why you're doing
Mm-hmm. Yep. That is like mic drop
it.
right there. That hits because you're right. We need to be able to come back to the like the motivation behind it because it can feel so hard when you're working on something big, right? And understanding what the value is
Yes.
underneath, what the why is underneath, that's huge. Man, this has just been such a good conversation. Time has flown by, and I'm sad that we're at the end. Um, can you share with the listeners whether they're like local to one of the locations where you're at, or um, even virtual, like how they can get in touch with you, learn more about the work that you're doing, or maybe experience one of the treatments themselves?
Yes. So we are on Instagram. It's Sage HeadSpa. And then our website is thesageheadspa.com. Like I said, we have 5 locations in Florida, and then Atlanta, Charlotte, Brentwood, and Naperville, Illinois, and Southlake, Texas. We are Japanese inspired head spa. We use like the top of the line products. We use Davines, which is actually an Italian line. It's not a Korean line. I did try all the Korean lines out there, and Davines is just a really clean, B Corp certified line out of Italy. And our clients and staff swear by it. I swear by it. And then we use Society Skincare, which is it's actually a medical grade line, but it's all clean, all natural ingredients. So no parabens, no sulfates, no fillers, no additives, no dyes. It's amazing. And then we just launched, or we're just launching July 7th. Like I said, I kind of got back to my like holistic roots, leaving the medical space. So we're launching a sculpt and lift facial and a Brazilian lymphatic facial. So they're non-invasive facials. Obviously, it's a lot of handwork, massaging, lymphatic drainage. So you really get that sculpted and lift look. And I'm really excited to bring it to all 10 of our locations.
That is so exciting when you get this new burst of like momentum in the business to offer. I can feel, I can see how excited you are, how much you love
Yes.
this work that you do. It's truly inspiring to see someone who is like doing it all and happy in it, you know? Thank you for coming and taking the time to chat with me and with the audience today. I really loved hearing your story, and I hope if you are listening, if you are still here, please go see Emily and her staff at one of the Sage Head Spa locations. I wish I was close to one. Let me tell you, I would be there in a heartbeat.
I know. I wish you were close to, but thank you so much. And I really enjoyed my time here.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And everyone listening, until next week, keep on growing like a mother.